You know what's funny about the modern dating world? The louder it gets, the more silent real connection becomes. Everyone's chasing, swiping, proving, performing. And in the process, men are losing something priceless: their sense of self. You, as a man, have been taught that you must do something to earn love. You must chase her, impress her, keep her attention at all costs. But let me tell you something. Most people won't. The moment you start chasing, you've already told her, and yourself, that she's the prize and you're not. Today, I want to shake that belief to its core. I want you to see the truth that most men refuse to face. Not because they can't, but because it forces them to confront how much of their masculine energy they've given away. This isn't about blaming women or hating the dating scene. It's about reclaiming your power in a world that constantly tries to convince you that you don't have any. If you're watching this, it's because some part of you knows you've been chasing. Maybe not just women, but validation, attention, approval. You've felt it. That low-level anxiety every time she doesn't text back. That sense of urgency when you feel her pulling away. That quiet panic that makes you start wondering, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you that chasing is the very thing that's making her lose interest? What if I told you that the more you try to win her over, the more she starts seeing you as a man who's forgotten his worth? So, before we dive deep, I want you to make yourself a small promise. Stay with me until the end. I'm not here to flatter you or sugarcoat reality. I'm here to speak truth. The kind that might sting a little, but will wake you up. If you're serious about becoming the kind of man women respect, not for what he does, but for who he is, then this is the message you need to hear. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Because what we do here is deeper than dating advice. It's about rebuilding masculine strength, piece by piece, thought by thought, action by action. Now let's get into it. 1. Chasing kills respect. You know the irony? The more you chase, the faster she runs. Most men think pursuit equals effort, but real attraction isn't built on constant effort. It's built on tension, polarity, and self-respect. When you chase, you communicate one thing. You matter more than I do. You might not say it out loud, but your actions do. The double texts, the over-explaining, the waiting around for her to reply while pretending not to care. All of it sends the message that your emotional center lies outside yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Let that sink in. Every time you chase a woman, you hand over the power of your mind. You become reactive to her actions instead of grounded in your purpose. That's not love, that's attachment. And attachment disguised as love always ends in resentment. Let's be honest. Modern dating apps and social media have distorted how men view connection. They've created a marketplace where men compete for attention, not authenticity. You're trained to think if you don't act fast, you'll lose her to someone else. But that mindset turns dating into a race, and in every race, someone ends up breathless and empty. Usually, that's the man who forgot to slow down and ask himself, why am I even running? The truth is, when a man chases, he's not trying to win the woman. He's trying to win himself back. He's chasing the feeling he gets when she finally looks his way. That brief moment where he feels seen, validated, enough. But that feeling doesn't last, does it? Because the moment she looks away, the panic returns. That's what chasing does. It makes your self-worth dependent on a moving target. Let me ask you something. How can a woman respect a man who doesn't even respect his own boundaries? A man who's available at every hour, who adjusts his schedule for her, who puts his goals on hold just to show he cares? Deep down, she doesn't want that. She might enjoy the attention, but she doesn't admire the man behind it. Because she knows that the moment life gets difficult, that same man will compromise his values to keep her around. You see, women test boundaries not because they're manipulative, but because boundaries reveal character. They want to see what you'll tolerate, what you'll stand for, what you'll walk away from. When you chase, you fail every test before it even begins. You show that her approval is your boundary line, and once you cross that, you can't go back. Here's something most men miss. Attraction thrives on space. When you're too available, there's no mystery, no tension, no reason for her to wonder. Chasing suffocates curiosity, and curiosity is what keeps attraction alive. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." When you're constantly showing up in her messages, her feed, her space, you're everywhere. Which means to her, you're nowhere special. If you want her to see your value, stop advertising it. Let your presence be felt through silence, not noise. Through action, not reaction. Through purpose, not pursuit. Because respect isn't something you get by running after it. It's something you command by being still in your own power. 2. Desire flows toward power. Here's the truth most men don't want to accept. Attraction isn't about looks, money, or charm. It's about energy. The kind of energy that comes from a man who doesn't need validation to know his worth. When a woman feels that, she's drawn in. Not because you're chasing her, but because you're leading yourself. Let's talk about power. Not control, not dominance, but inner power. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. Every time you chase, you're giving someone else the power to dictate how you feel. You become a puppet in your own story, dancing to someone else's rhythm. But when you stop chasing, something shifts. You start radiating quiet authority, the kind that doesn't need to beg, prove, or explain. Women can sense it instantly. It's not about arrogance, it's about presence. When a man walks into a room and he's centered, focused on his goals, rooted in his values, he doesn't have to do anything special. He just is. That stillness is magnetic. It's the same principle that governs nature. The river doesn't chase the sea. It flows naturally toward it. The sun doesn't beg the planets to orbit. Its energy commands their movement. Desire, like nature, flows toward power, not need. But here's the twist. In the modern world, most men are trained to reverse this flow. They've been told that showing interest means chasing, that proving your worth means overgiving, that love is about convincing someone to choose you. It's not. Love, real love, begins with self-possession. When you own yourself, your time, your emotions, your energy, you stop leaking power. You start attracting people who respect that strength. I want you to think about this. How many times have you tried to impress a woman only to feel drained afterward? You tell yourself, "I did everything right," but deep down you know something felt off. That's because chasing creates imbalance. It puts you in a position of emotional debt. You're giving more than you're receiving. And when you do that, desire dies. Let's flip the script. Imagine you're focused on your life, your work, your health, your purpose. You're consistent, grounded, selective with your attention. You don't respond to every message right away because you're busy building. That's power. And that power is what makes women want to be around you. Not your words, not your compliments, but your direction. You've probably seen men who seem to have women naturally drawn to them. It's not luck, it's energy. They're not chasing, they're living in alignment. They understand that attention is currency, and they spend it wisely. Every time you pour your attention into something, you're investing in it. So the question is, are you investing in someone who values your energy or someone who consumes it. When you stop chasing, you force both yourself and others to reveal the truth. You learn who's genuinely interested, who's indifferent, and who's just using you for emotional entertainment. It's not about playing games, it's about playing with clarity. Because when you're clear on your value, you stop negotiating it. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing her, that's usually when she starts needing your presence. Because now your energy has shifted. You're no longer pulling, you're magnetizing. That's the flow of desire. It moves naturally toward power, confidence, and purpose. Let me leave you with this question. If every time you chase, you lose power, and every time you stand still in your worth, you gain it, which version of yourself do you think she truly wants? The one who begs for attention, or the one who commands it without saying a word? 3. Detachment is power. When you no longer depend on someone's response to validate your worth, you become free. You stop waiting, overthinking, and trying to predict what she'll do next. You live, you breathe, you focus on what you can control, yourself. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring differently. It's choosing to care about peace more than chaos, about purpose more than validation. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus taught that we suffer not because of events, but because of our judgment of those events. So when she doesn't text back, it's not her silence that hurts. It's the meaning you attach to it. You say to yourself, she must not like me. But what if her phone died? What if she's tired? What if her mood has nothing to do with you? Men who chase interpret everything as rejection because they've linked their worth to external feedback. But men who are detached interpret silence as information, not insult. They observe without emotional collapse. They stay grounded in logic, not insecurity. Ask yourself, how much of your mental space has been hijacked by imaginary conversations with her? How many times have you replayed moments, trying to decode her words? That mental energy could have been building your body, your business, your discipline. Every thought you spend on uncertainty is energy you subtract from your own evolution. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you chase, your thoughts revolve around her. When you detach, your thoughts revolve around yourself, and that's where real progress begins. The truth is, women feel your energy long before you speak. If you're anxious, needy, desperate, they sense it. But if you're calm, self-contained, patient, they sense that too. Detachment gives you control over your emotional projection. You stop giving away the script of your story for someone else to rewrite. Detachment also creates contrast. When a man doesn't chase, his stillness becomes noticeable. She starts wondering, why isn't he running after me like everyone else? That curiosity breeds attraction, because now she's experiencing something rare, a man who is whole without her. But understand this, detachment isn't indifference, it's wisdom. It's knowing when to engage and when to walk away. It's having the strength to feel everything, but still choose logic over impulse. The man who can do that is dangerous in the best way, because he cannot be controlled through emotion. He can only be respected through consistency. 4. Purpose makes you irresistible. Let's be brutally honest. The reason most men chase is because they have nothing else driving them. When your purpose is undefined, your energy has nowhere to go. So you channel it into the nearest source of excitement, a woman. But a man on his mission doesn't have time to chase. He's too busy becoming. Every great man in history understood this. Seneca devoted himself to philosophy. Marcus Aurelius devoted himself to service. Even modern figures like Kobe Bryant, Elon Musk, or David Goggins show what it means to be consumed by purpose. They didn't build their empires chasing attention. They built, and the attention followed. You have to ask yourself, what's your mission? What gets you out of bed before the alarm? If you can't answer that, then no wonder you keep losing yourself in women. You're looking for direction in a distraction. When a woman meets a man who's grounded in purpose, she feels it immediately. His words carry weight. His actions have direction. He's not trying to impress. He's simply expressing who he is. And that, ironically, is what impresses her most, because she can trust his focus. She knows his energy isn't scattered. But here's the mistake most men make. They think chasing women and chasing purpose can coexist. It can't. One will always consume the other. The time you spend refreshing her messages could have been spent refining your craft. The energy you waste overanalyzing her tone could have been fueling your next achievement. The universe respects focus. When you commit fully to something meaningful, it begins to conspire in your favor. Opportunities appear. Confidence grows. You start walking differently, talking differently. You become magnetic, not because you're performing, but because you're aligned. And that alignment is what women crave. Not the man who says, "I'll do anything for you," but the man who says, "I'm already doing something meaningful, and you can join me if you want." That's leadership. That's masculine energy in its purest form. Let me ask you, what would your life look like if you redirected every ounce of energy you spent chasing into building yourself? Where would you be a year from now? A man who chases ends up exhausted. A man who builds ends up expanded. The chase gives temporary validation. Purpose gives lifelong peace. 5. Attention is a currency. Spend it wisely. In today's world, attention is everything. Every platform, every influencer, every brand fights for it. But what no one tells you is that attention is also how relationships are built or broken. When you give your attention away too freely, you become emotionally bankrupt. Think about it. How many men do you see constantly commenting, liking, DMing, trying to be seen? They think they're connecting, but they're actually depleting themselves. Because every time you give attention without discernment, you're teaching the world that your energy is cheap. A high-value man understands that his attention is sacred. He doesn't give it out of boredom or loneliness. He gives it with intention. And women feel the difference. When your attention is rare, it becomes valuable. But when it's constant, it becomes background noise. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Translation: stop seeking approval. You don't owe anyone your engagement. Silence can be more powerful than words. Ignoring drama doesn't make you weak, it makes you strategic. Women respect the man who's selective, the one who doesn't jump at every opportunity, because that restraint signals self-control, and self-control is the foundation of masculine power. So, how should you spend your attention? On what feeds you, on what builds you, on what aligns with your purpose. Read, train, build your craft, create something that outlives attraction cycles. Because attention invested in growth multiplies, attention invested in validation disappears. Let's make this practical. The next time you feel the urge to chase, pause. Ask yourself, if I give her this attention, am I investing or spending? One leads to value, the other to depletion. And here's the paradox. The less you give away your attention, the more attention you start receiving. Because now, you've become the man everyone notices. The one who's calm, focused, untouchable. The one who's clearly not chasing. Women are naturally drawn to what they can't easily access. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. Scarcity creates value. When you're not constantly available, she has to earn your time, and that's when attraction deepens. because now she sees your energy as something to be respected, not consumed. So remember this: attention is not free. It's the currency of your masculine energy. And how you spend it determines what and who you attract. 6. Self-respect is the ultimate attraction. You can fake confidence for a while. You can say all the right lines, dress the part, and mimic what high-value men do. But you can't fake self-respect. It's something deeper than image. It's the quiet conviction that you're worthy of peace, effort, and loyalty, and that you won't negotiate those things. The problem today is that many men mistake tolerance for strength. They think putting up with disrespect shows patience, that enduring games proves devotion. But let me be clear, it doesn't. It shows self-betrayal. Every time you excuse behavior that violates your standards, you're teaching her that your boundaries are flexible. And the more flexible they become, the less respect she feels. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, self-respect is lived, not declared. It's in the way you walk away from inconsistency without needing closure. It's in the way you maintain your dignity when someone tries to provoke you. It's in your refusal to beg for what should be freely given. Ask yourself, if a woman saw how you talk to yourself when no one's watching, would she still respect you? Because self-respect begins internally. You can't expect others to value you when your inner dialogue is soaked in self-doubt. Women subconsciously measure your treatment of yourself as the standard for how they should treat you. When you chase, you're showing that your needs are secondary. When you respect yourself, you show that your life has order. And order is attractive because it signals stability. There's something magnetic about a man who simply won't allow nonsense in his life. He doesn't need to raise his voice or explain his principles. His silence, his stillness, his consistency, they speak for him. A woman may test him, challenge him, even push boundaries, but deep down, she's craving the structure his respect creates. Remember, the man who respects himself never fears losing someone who disrespects him. Because he understands that loss is an illusion. You can't lose what's not aligned with your peace. So stop chasing the woman who treats you like an option. Stop negotiating for basic decency. You don't have to prove your worth through pain. Stand firm, speak less, move forward. Let your actions define your standards. Self-respect is not arrogance, it's awareness. Awareness that you were born with value. That love isn't something you earn through sacrifice. It's something that flourishes through authenticity. When you finally embody that truth, you'll realize something powerful. Women don't fall for men who chase. They fall for men who choose themselves. Here's the truth most men avoid facing. Chasing women isn't the problem. It's a symptom. It's what happens when a man forgets his purpose, abandons his boundaries, and doubts his own worth. But the moment you remember who you are, the chase ends. Because now you're no longer seeking completion in someone else. You're living from completion within yourself. Women respect the man who's whole. They're drawn to the one who leads with calm, not chaos. The one who builds, not begs. The one who chooses peace over pressure. So stop chasing, start becoming. Let your silence speak where words once begged. Let your growth replace your need for approval. And when love finds you, and it will, it'll come not because you pursued it, but because you embodied it. If this message hit you, stay connected. Subscribe, because what we explore here isn't just dating, it's transformation. It's the rebuilding of masculine strength, purpose, and emotional control in a world that desperately needs it. And I'll be here, guiding you through it, every step of the way. Until next time, remember, You don't need to chase women. You need to become the man they can't help but respect.